Okay, how many of you guys are chronic procrastinators? See a raise of hand. Okay, you know what? It's all good. It's part of your nature. According to Anton France, it is human nature to think wisely and act foolishly. And there's so many occasions of that in our daily lives. For an example, we have a midterm, let's say next week. And you know, do we study for it? We tell ourselves in our heads, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And then a day passes, okay, maybe in the next days, and finally, the night before, we finally open our books. Oh shit, you know, we just keep flipping through our books, and there we go. And, you know, it's just something that we do. And there are many more examples that you can see in people. You know, for an example, with drinking. We go to a party, and we're sitting around with friends, and you know, maybe we have work the next day, so we say, hey, maybe I'll drink in moderation today, you know? And you tell your friends, hey, I can't drink too much. All right, and then you think, okay, maybe one shot. Take one shot, down. You're feeling a little good now, eh? And then while you have your little bit of rationale left, you tell yourself, okay, I should stop now, but hey, it feels too good. The buzz overtakes you, and drinking, and one shot after another, there you go. You're drunk, and next thing you know, you wake up the next day late for work, and you passed out and you don't remember a thing that happened. And for another example, a personal example that I had was while I was driving, I noticed that my tire was flat. And you know, I was on my way back from work, and then I told myself, hey, maybe I should put some air in that tire. And then I forgot when I came back. And then I went into the house, and then I was like, hey, maybe I should fill it, you know, maybe I should put in some air. And I just felt lazy, so I said, hey, I'm sure it'll be fine till tomorrow. And then I went to my car the next day, and I was driving to work. Boom! The tire, it just blew, you know, and I was on the freeway, just totally late, and you know, I had to wait for one of those driving assistants, you know, cars to come and help me, you know, with the tire, and it was just terrible, you know. I thought in my head wisely, hey, I should fix something, but then I acted otherwise, and you know, we're like monkeys. We think, you know, but we don't act upon them. But you know, as we're human, and we tend to have a better head than most of the other animals out there. And perhaps it's time to exercise our intellect. Maybe think harder or practice more, you know, moderation or more, or just tell ourselves, you know, don't just tell yourselves what to do, but rather act upon them as well. I know it's a little hard. Like I said, with our midterms, you know, all of us, we love to procrastinate, but you know, for our future, for the bettering of ourselves, maybe we can continue to work on that.
All right, Simon, I thought that the audience survey actually worked pretty well here. You had an excellent transition to the quote, and your point of view is relatively clear. You've got good illustrations to get started. It sounds like on the first one that you're kind of repeating a couple of things that you said at the beginning, but you add a little bit more detail to it and make it unique. There's not really a preview of what you're talking about, but you do have 3 distinct examples to illustrate the point. And so there is an organization, and each of those points you do develop a little bit of interesting material on. You've got visualizations that the audience can relate to. You've got a nice personal story that you can tell on each of those points. The drinking one, of course, you're kind of creating this abstract visualization that maybe everybody can identify with. The last one, you're talking about your own personal experiences, and I think that you get a little bit more vivid and engaged when you're doing that, because you know you're not making something up. It reflects a little bit more the reality of your own experience. I thought that was very solid. It was pretty easy to hear you. I think you've got good variety in your voice. The pacing is sometimes affected a little bit. I didn't count them. You might want to do that when you go through your speech, the you-knows. There were a few of them. Those are examples of vocalized pauses. The idea is that if I keep talking, I sound like I'm smooth, even though you are actually stopping the flow of ideas to give yourself an opportunity to think of the next thing to say by inserting that particular word or phrase. It wasn't as obnoxious as I've heard in other speeches, so I wouldn't be overly concerned about it, but it would be something, just double check when you listen. Maybe do a little count for yourself, because one of the ways to control that is to become really self-aware of it. Other than that, I thought everything was pretty solid. You've got lots of indicators while you're speaking. There's one point at the beginning where you kind of have your thumb hooked into your pocket, and that looks a little awkward. But most of the time you were animated while you were talking, your facial expressions especially. Your eye contact was well distributed throughout the audience. There was a little bit of shuffling of your feet maybe in the first minute of the speech, but you settled down into the presentation very nicely. The only thing that I think is problematic is right at the end of the speech, instead of ending with a more forceful expression of your, it just sounds like your voice drops out, like you ran out of steam, or you didn't have the right exit line sentence to get done, and so you just lifted the needle off of the record and stopped. All right. Thank you. I know that